please welcome the chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, Mary Ann Carter, and members of the National Council on the Arts.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Mary Ann Carter, Chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, and this is the 219th meeting of the National Council on the Arts, and it is now in session. We are thrilled to be in North Carolina. I personally have a lot of history here. When I was quite young, my dad was stationed at Camp Lejeune. I've gotten to know Interstate 95 and 85 quite well while my daughter was at High Point University. Well, I reside in DC for now. Knoxville, Tennessee is home, so I'm just over the Smokies. I've been to Bryson City, rode on the train. I have been to West Jefferson, Marshall, Black Mountain, Boone, Blowing Rock, and of course, I've been to Tweetsies. If you're a local, you know what I'm talking about. No one else knows what I'm talking about. One of my brothers worked at a ski resort on Wolf Mountain, and another brother, who is here today, I'm so thankful, drove this morning from Greensboro, where he lives, and has for 30 years. My brother, who is here, I can't see him, so I'm not sure where he is, but he's very involved in the arts. He does a lot of community and regional theater, both as an actor and as a director. So I'm really happy that he's here today too. Welcome to the members of the National Council on the Arts, of course, our National Endowment for the Arts staff, and to you, members of the public. Thank you for making the time to be with us here today. For the record, present in person at today's meeting is Kenan Azme, Gretchen Gonzalez. Kenan's from New York, by the way. Gretchen is from Michigan. Paul Hodes of Maine, and Connie Williams of Pennsylvania. Present online, virtually, the members of the National Council on the Arts are Bitta Becker of Navajo Nation, Maria de Leon of Texas, Emil Kane of New York, Michael Lombardo of California, Waskar Medina of Kansas, Fiona Whalen Prine of Tennessee, Ronnie Ramaswamy of Minnesota, and Jake Shimabukuro of Hawaii. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize former National Council on the Arts member Ishmael Ahmed, who passed away this past February. Ish joined the National Council in March 2022 and was known for his deep belief in the arts and music in particular, and especially bringing people together. He helped establish landmark cultural institutions, including the Arab American National Museum and Detroit's very popular Concert of Colors Festival. He also served in high levels of government. He was director of Michigan's Department of Human Services, and later, of course, as a member of the National Council on the Arts. And like I said, he spent his life bringing people together through the arts and music, and he is dearly, dearly missed. Since becoming chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts during President Trump's first term, I've made it a priority of the agency to bring the National Council on the Arts to different places around the country. In fact, our first meeting in June of 2018 in Charleston, West Virginia, was the first meeting of the National Council on the Arts outside of DC in 27 years. I believe it is critically important for us to get out of the meeting room and into the communities. We need to see art in action. We need to witness firsthand how the investment in arts is an investment in the communities and in this case, how art can help a community and its people recover from disaster. And that is particularly relevant because a major priority of the National Endowment for the Arts is supporting communities that have experienced a disaster. We know how hard the arts communities were hit in Western North Carolina by Hurricane Helene. And while we know there is still a long, long road to recovery, we have been inspired by the resilience, the community, and the dedication that we have seen in the last 3 days that we have been here. We're very pleased that Congressman Chuck Edwards is here with us today. Congressman Edwards is a representative for the North Carolina's 11th District. His district covers 15 counties in the state's western mountains, including, of course, Asheville. He began his career in the private sector as a Hendersonville businessman. He developed several successful businesses, ventures that provided significant economic investment and job creation for the community. Congressman Edwards began his elected service in the North Carolina State Senate. He was first elected to Congress in November 2022, where he was placed as a freshman on the prestigious Appropriations Committee. This is a highly sought after committee because, of course, it controls the money, very important, and it's very unusual for a freshman to get on. And so, of course, appropriations provides funding for every government agency, including the National Endowment for the Arts. So thank you, Congressman, for that. On appropriations, he serves as vice chair of the National Security Department of State Subcommittee, as well as he sits on the Financial Service and General Government Subcommittee. But his priorities continue to be focused on serving his constituents, helping them interface with federal agencies, and assisting them with the challenges, such as helping Western North Carolina communities recover from natural disasters, but especially from Hurricane Helene, which is what we are focusing on today. And let me add a personal note here. Most of what a member of Congress does is not glamorous. It doesn't make splashy headlines. I want you to know the Congressman and his staff has been in constant contact with our staff. Everyone checks in. Everyone wants to see what's working, what isn't working, are resources getting where they need to go. I know the Congressman has brought in other federal resources as well. There's a lot to the job of being a member of Congress, but in my personal opinion, nothing is more important than making sure the members' community gets what they need, especially during a disaster. So please, please join me in welcoming Congressman Edwards to the podium.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that very generous introduction. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chuck Edwards, and you are in North Carolina's 11th Congressional District. What an honor it is to be able to represent the folks here in Western North Carolina, and what a thrill it is for me to be with you here today. Much can be said about the impact that the arts has in Western North Carolina. I enjoy telling folks, and I'm called all the time. I'm asked in Washington, D.C., hey, Chuck, I'm coming to your district. I'm going to this town or that town. What do I need to do? And always on the list that I reply to them with is, you've got to stroll down this street or that street, usually it's a main street, and look at some of the wonderful shops and the works of art that we have. Whether you choose to buy something or not, you're going to see it as a museum, and you're going to go home and tell friends and family about it, and by all means, feel free to buy anything. In fact, we had the HUD secretary right here in Asheville just a few weeks ago. We were wandering through the River Arts District, and he got to looking around at some of the remarkable pieces of art there. And much of the reason that Asheville has been able to come back together, and he started picking things off of the shelf And eventually his staff said, I don't think we've got room for that. And I believe they ended up going and buying him another suitcase so that he could take some trinkets back to Washington, D.C., which really, really instilled a bit of pride in me. To all of you that have traveled here to Western North Carolina, it really is my pleasure and my honor to have you here. And I'm grateful that you chose Asheville to have this conference, particularly since our recovery is so critical. And I appreciate you recognizing, all of you recognizing, how important the arts is to our recovery here in Western North Carolina. We were having a bit of a debate behind stage at what the economic impact is from the arts to Western North Carolina. And while our numbers are still different, imagine that, folks in Washington, D.C. would see numbers a little bit differently. We agree it's significant and it's well into the billions of dollars, but we're going to coordinate and make sure that we're operating from the same talking points. Anyone who spends time in Western North Carolina quickly understands that creativity is woven into the fabric of this region. From the long-standing ballad traditions of Madison County to the studios and the galleries here in Asheville that drive this region's economy, the arts have long been central to our cultural identity and the economic success of our mountains. One of the statistics that I think we did agree on is the arts create about 34,000 jobs here in North Carolina. Before this storm, the River Arts District alone supported more than 200 working artists across dozens of studios and buildings. It was and still is one of the largest concentrations of working artists in the Southeast. The arts are a major reason that people visit Asheville, and they're a major reason so many artists have chosen to make their homes here. Since Hurricane Helene, I've spent quite a bit of time, and I've seen that the creative spirit really shine in ways that are even more inspiring. I recently had the chance, as I mentioned to you, to bring the secretary here and impress him with what Asheville's Arts District has to offer. And his visit served as a powerful reminder of folks in Washington, D.C., just how the arts do bring people together and create opportunity and anchor our community life. Over the last 5 years, the National Endowment for the Arts has invested more than $19 million in North Carolina, and I appreciate you working to help that funding stream continue. And you can feel that investment as you go through any of these Western North Carolina towns, in the vitality of our arts organizations, in the resilience of our creative economy, and in the way that communities are using the arts to heal after Helene. As a member of the House Appropriations Committee, I support and I'll continue to support federal investments in the arts, and I'll continue that work as we move forward with fiscal year 2027 appropriations. Your grants workshop and your public meeting here at the Wortham Center will give local artists and organizations a chance to connect directly with federal resources, and I know that they'll be deeply appreciative of that opportunity. This region is full of people who are passionate, innovative, and determined to keep the arts thriving, even in the face of the hardship that we've experienced. But let me talk a little bit about the reality real quick in serving on appropriations. Not all of us in Washington, D.C. Feel the strength and the vitality and the need for the arts. You've noticed that arts funding has very much been under attack. In the president's budget recently, he chose to submit to Congress a budget to reduce the funding from $207 million to $29 million, and then eventually phase that out. We did not let that happen. I fought to prevent that from happening. The same proposal is in the 2027 budget, I have already submitted, as a member of the Appropriations Committee, I've already submitted my request, my insistence that we at least keep that level. Right now, level is far better than being cut by $170 million or so. And many of you are asking, well, what can I do? Let me just tell you that NC-11 is covered. We've got it. And so if any of you know House members in other parts of the country, please call on them and insist that we at least keep funding for the arts flat. And in spite of what we may see come out in a budget, inevitably we see amendments trying to strip it out here and strip it out there. I've fought to defeat those amendments, and I hope that you'll join me in calling on other members of Congress to do the same. Thank you so much for having me this morning. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for your hard work. Please keep up the good work. Your constituents are amazing. As I've said several times, we've had such a great time here. And the artists and the art communities and all the towns are well worth the investment. Recently, I was with the National Assembly of State Art Agencies for their board meeting, and I learned something new about North Carolina history. North Carolina is recognized as the birthplace of local arts agencies, a model that we now see across the nation. The first formally organized local arts agency was the Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, created in 1949. One of that organization's founders, Phil Haynes, was also a founding member of the National Council on the Arts. And he was a leading advocate for the creation of the North Carolina Arts Council in the 1960s. The North Carolina Arts Council was the first state arts agency to secure state dollars and distribute them to counties on a per capita basis. That strategy was a major success and continues to this day, reaching over 1 million North Carolina residents each year. That is a model that is now replicated in other states. It is seen as a way to support broad public engagement in the arts. At the National Endowment for the Arts, we know that we can't reach all Americans through our direct grants. That's why we have partnerships with the states and our jurisdictions. We provide funding to our state partners, our jurisdictional partners, our regional partners, and also to local art agencies. This broadens the reach, and it supports art opportunities in communities large and small. And I want to mention why this is really important. I'm sure everyone in this audience has heard previously, can't private dollars replace public dollars? And so we looked into that to determine, could private dollars replace public dollars? Well, what we found is looking at the top 1,000 foundations that give to the arts, almost 1/4 the country, about 700 counties, receive no private money at all. But they receive public funding through the NEA and through our state partnerships. So private dollars cannot replace public dollars. And I believe art programming, access to the arts, access to arts program should not be based on your geography or on philanthropy. So I'm so grateful to the North Carolina Arts Council and Arts AVL for their collaboration on this visit by the National Council on the Arts. While we couldn't visit every community impacted by the hurricane, we are so grateful for the ones we did visit and for those of you who shared your experience with us. I'd now like to welcome Jeff Bell to the podium. He's Executive Director of the North Carolina Arts Council. Prior to leading the Arts Council, Jeff was the Arts Innovation Coordinator for the City of Wilson and Executive Director of the Wallace Simpson Whirligig Park, which the National Endowment for the Arts has supported. Jeff?
Thank you, Chair Carter. On behalf of the staff and board of the North Carolina Arts Council, a division of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, led by Secretary Pam Cashwell, we welcome the National Council on the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts to North Carolina. We welcome all elected officials with us here today. We also welcome our friends from South Arts, our regional arts organization. South Arts staff and board members are here, including CEO and President Doug Shipman and several other Southern States Arts Agency directors. I'm also happy that a member of the South Arts Board is also our new North Carolina Arts Council chair, and her name is Sejal Mehta, and we're very happy to have her with us. Lastly, welcome to all those from Asheville, Western North Carolina, and those from across the state, and those streaming from across the country. North Carolina is a special place for the arts. Western North Carolina has long been home to makers and musicians. Traditional forms of art have been passed down through generations, evolving over thousands of years here. At the same time, just down the road at Black Mountain College, important advancements were made in avant-garde visual arts, music, and dance that continue to shape contemporary art today. The North Carolina Arts Council is dedicated to the simple mission of arts for all. We do this in many different ways, through investments, programs, policy, resources, and arts in education, including our extraordinary A+ Schools program, which has become a model nationally for arts integration in schools. We are also home to the Come Here NC Music Office, which strives to enhance music programming, develop creative economies, foster industry development, and support music advocacy. Next year marks two important milestones. It will be the 60th anniversary of the North Carolina Arts Council. It will also be the 50th anniversary of our Grassroots Arts Program, our largest grant category. Through Grassroots, we distribute funding to all 100 counties in North Carolina. Since its inception, we have invested in helping our local partners grow and support and advocate for the arts in their communities. Arts AVL, the Arts Council for Asheville and Buncombe County, is a remarkable example of one of our grassroots partners. The Grassroots Network gives us the advantage of knowing and working directly with people in every part of our state. And we have benefited from those relationships for our pandemic and Hurricane Helene recovery work. In addition to Grassroots, the North Carolina Arts Council provides direct grants to hundreds of arts organizations like the one hosting us here today, the Wortham Center for the Performing Arts. The arts are strong in North Carolina. We are thankful to the NEA, to Governor Stein, and the North Carolina General Assembly for their continued support for the arts. And there is a tremendous return on that arts investment. During the most recent Americans for the Arts and Economic Prosperity study, we learned that North Carolina arts nonprofits generate $2.23 billion in economic activity annually. Yesterday, the National Council of the Arts and the NEA staff visited nearby Marshall, North Carolina in Madison County. It was an opportunity to see how vital the arts are to local economies and to community identity. Madison County is home to the Nest of Singing Birds, a group who have continued a tradition of ballad singing and whose membership includes Sheila K. Adams, an NEA National Heritage Fellow. Also, her cousin, who I believe is here today, Donna Ray Norton, is an extraordinary example of a ballad singer. That visit to Madison showed us the spirit and strength and recovery present across the entire region. After Hurricane Helene, we immediately heard from our friends at the National Endowment for the Arts, offering their support and connecting us with resources. The NEA has been by our side the whole way. We are proud to host this meeting in North Carolina to show a little bit of what makes this state incredible. It is an honor to work with artists and partners at the state, local, regional, and national level to strengthen and grow the arts in North Carolina. Now I have the honor of introducing someone who truly understands the value of the arts, the mayor of Asheville, Esther Mannheimer.
It's always a pleasure to be here, but I'm always blinded by the light. You all are probably reaching your speech limit, and especially when you can see all these drums up here. So I will just welcome the members of the National Council of the Arts and the National Endowment of the Arts to Asheville. We're so excited that you're here. And thank you for making this your location. I love your roadshow concept. That's perfect for us. This is the NEA's second formal visit since Hurricane Helene, and that continued presence means a great deal to our community. And I just pause. I don't know where Katie Cornell is, but shout out to her for just never stopping pressing the gas pedal. I do want to express deep gratitude to the NEA for all you've done and continue to do to support Western North Carolina's recovery. And I'm speaking not only as the mayor of Asheville, but also as the co-chair of the Governor's Advisory Committee on Western North Carolina Recovery. From that vantage point, I can say clearly the arts sector has been both deeply impacted by the storm and is absolutely essential to how our communities are recovering. And we did have the pleasure of having Katie come and present to our committee just recently to talk about all the work with recovery that they are doing. I always, when I reflect about the arts, I do want to share on a personal note what it's meant to me in my life and thinking about what it's meant to you in your life. I grew up in a home where the arts were valued as much as a so-called traditional job. My father received an NEA grant when I was in the 7th grade to write, to document the history of the trains in Spokane, Washington. He was Railroad Ron that year. My mom is a contemporary fiber artist and a member of the Guild here in Asheville. And there were always fabric dye baths around my house that I had to stay away from, and sewing machines and needles and thread and all the accoutrement. And when I was little, we had a coworker of my father's living with us who would later go on to become the poet laureate of Wyoming. But when I knew him, he played Zydeco in my basement on an accordion and taught me how to play the clarinet. He also spoke French. It was pretty amazing. My sister went to the North Carolina School of the Arts for high school and later to Cooper Union in New York City, and her medium was photography, of which I was a not very attractive subject in many of her avant-garde photos. And meanwhile, I'm just a boring lawyer, but I have appreciated so much what role the arts has played in my life, and I know for many of you, the arts is woven into your lives as well. The arts are not just a part of Asheville and Western North Carolina's identity. They are a key part of our economy and a critical part of our recovery, supporting small businesses, artists, and the vitality of this region. They also play a vital role in helping people reconnect, process, and heal in the aftermath of trauma. And I know art was very important for us in our recovery from Helene and remains so today. Your partnership, you being here, reinforces that this work matters, not just locally, but nationally. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for being here, for your leadership, and for standing with Western North Carolina as we continue the recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you will continue to do, as well as everything you have done. And Jeff, thank you so much. We love working with the North Carolina Arts Council. Established by Congress, the National Endowment for the Arts is an independent federal agency charged with making the arts available to all Americans. For our first order of business, may I get a motion to approve the minutes from the January 2026 council meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Tony Chevelle. He's the Deputy Chair for Programs and Partnerships at the National Endowment for the Arts. Tony?
Good morning, council members. We will proceed with the grant application review section of today's agenda. The tally of the votes will be announced at the end of today's meeting. The council will be voting by ballot today on award recommendations in 3 funding areas: grants for arts projects, state and regional partnerships, and national initiatives. These funding recommendations are found in the corresponding sections of your council book. For your vote to be tallied, you must be in the room or joining the meeting via video conference or on the telephone line at the time of the motion, discussion, and vote. Council members joining virtually, you must email your votes to Kim Jefferson in these categories immediately at the conclusion of this part of the meeting. Council members' affiliations are noted for the record, and each member has been provided an opportunity to update this information prior to the meeting. Council members are recorded as not voting on applications with which they are affiliated. May I have a motion to consider the recommended grants and rejections under the Grants for Arts Projects, State and Regional Partnerships, and National Initiatives in the council books?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to summarize each funding area. As you know, the Grants for Arts Projects, also known as GAP, is the largest grants program of the National Endowment for the Arts, supporting excellent arts projects for the benefit of all Americans. Through project-based funding, the program provides funding for public engagement with the arts and arts education, for the integration of the arts with strategies promoting the health and well-being of people and communities, and for the improvement of overall capacity and capabilities within the arts sector. The Arts Endowment welcomes applications from first-time and returning applicants from organizations serving rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities of all sizes, and from organizations with small, medium, or large operating budgets. Projects recommended today comprise the second group of GAP applications brought to the council this fiscal year. The first group was considered at the October 2025 and January 2026 council meetings. Recommended projects span 14 disciplines and fields. Direct grants are recommended to all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Please mark your ballot. State and regional partnerships assist the nation's state arts agencies and regional arts organizations in their support for the arts. By law, 40% of Arts Endowment appropriated program funds are awarded in this way. State art agencies will utilize Arts Endowment support in combination with state appropriated funding to support arts projects in communities across the country. Please mark your ballot. National initiatives support a wide variety of projects of national and field-wide significance. At this meeting, the council is requested to approve funding for an arts education initiative, the Arts Education Partnership, or AEP. The AEP demonstrates and promotes the essential role of the arts in enabling every student to succeed in school and prepare for life and work in the 21st century. The Performing Arts Global Exchange, a program designed to provide broader access to the work of international artists and art forms less frequently seen outside of major urban centers in the United States. And USA Artists International, a program showcasing the excellence and vitality of U.S. artists and arts organizations at international arts markets and other significant cultural events around the world. The Mayor's Institute on City Design, a program that assists mayors with urban design challenges, promotes design excellence and economic revitalization, and enhances the livability of communities across the country. Continued support of Poetry Out Loud, an initiative that encourages high school students across the country to learn about great poetry through memorization, recitation, and performance, through a cooperative agreement renewal as well as an amendment to develop a new online database of poems, contract event venues, and for the production of a Poetry Out Loud guide for teachers for the 2026-2027 school year. Another of the agency's signature national initiatives is literary arts, and it's the NEA Big Read, an initiative that supports community reading programs designed around a single Big Read book. A cooperative agreement to support the production and management of the NEA Jazz Masters, a ceremony and tribute concert, which honors the NEA Jazz Masters Fellows, the 2027 class of NEA Jazz Masters Fellows. The Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students, a national services initiative that will support research, information, and professional development services for the National Endowment for the Arts, state arts agencies, and the 6 regional arts organizations. The renewal of 3 National Endowment for the Arts research labs, which focus on the arts, creativity, cognition, and learning, as well as the arts, health, and social and emotional well-being. And Shakespeare and American Communities, which professional theater companies will bring performances and educational activities to middle and high school students, as well as support apprenticeships for early and mid-career theater administration and technicians across the country. Please mark your ballots. Council members joining virtually, you may now email your votes to Kim Jefferson on those 3 categories. Finally, we return our attention to projects in the award updates section. These grants are under the chairman's delegated authority and are brought to the council's attention at this meeting, but no vote is necessary. Included are 2 20% amendments, 47 chairman's extraordinary action grants, including 33 projects that will celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States with music from U.S. military bands, and 11 NEA Spirit of Sports projects that will celebrate American creativity and highlight local artistic and cultural traditions inspired by the 2026 FIFA World Cup games in the United States. And finally, 3 interagency agreements. Mary Ann?
Great. Thank you so much, Tony. For more information on any of those national initiatives that Tony spoke about, you can find more information at arts.gov. And Tony mentioned Poetry Out Loud. We actually crowned a champion for Poetry Out Loud last week. It is a recitation contest that we run with Arts Mid-Atlantic. We had 130,000 high school students participate this year. So imagine kids not scrolling on this, but discovering a poem, finding poems that mean something to them, then they learn it, they learn about the poet, and then they memorize it, and then they recite it in front of strangers. That's pretty amazing. More skills that cannot be taught in the classroom. So please, arts.gov, you can, again, find information on all those different initiatives. As I said in my opening, support for disaster relief and emergency response and preparedness for artists and arts organizations is a priority of the National Endowment for the Arts. In fact, we have added this to our grant guidelines as an area we are specifically interested in supporting through our grant making. However, we do have a long history of helping communities prepare for and recover from natural disasters and national emergencies, including disaster relief in the wake of September 11th, Hurricanes Katrina, Harvey, Maria, and Ian, and the devastating tornadoes in Joplin, Missouri, and Western Kentucky. Our work following the devastation of Hurricane Maria in 2017 actually marked a pivotal moment in the agency's history. For the first time, the Arts Endowment employees deployed multiple times to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. This was a new aspect of the National Endowment for the Arts support and is carried forward today with the agency's response in North Carolina. In Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, the agency was able to provide financial support, including funds for regranting, technical and policy assistance, and leadership when requested. The agency also helped facilitate the use of arts for community healing and assisted with the development of a mural in an area that had suffered from high substance abuse and high suicide rates following the hurricane. We know firsthand artists and arts and cultural organizations are some of the most vulnerable populations and often have difficulty accessing relief funds and services after a disaster. This was especially evident here in North Carolina, where the arts community was particularly hard hit and impacted by the hurricane. The agency's prior experience responding to Hurricane Maria, including the agency's coordination with other federal partners, helped the Arts Endowment to mobilize quickly to bring assistance to Western North Carolina. In addition to providing $200,000 in funding through the North Carolina Arts Council to support recovery activities, our agency staff also worked with our federal partners to help catalog damage, outline recovery needs, and develop short and long-term recovery goals for the creative sector. As a member of the Federal Natural and Cultural Resources Recovery Support Function, sorry, remember that's DC, these are the kind of names they give, the Arts Endowment is working in coordination with other federal agencies such as the Department of the Interior, the National Park Service, to contribute advice, guidance, and resources to address recovery for the arts and cultural sector. In a few minutes, you'll hear more from Eleanor Billington, Civic Partnerships Manager at the National Endowment for the Arts, to understand more about how the Arts Endowment worked in lockstep with our state and local partners to support disaster relief efforts here in North Carolina, and how these efforts are helping to inform best practices and resources for other communities and, sadly, for future disasters. Before I introduce the panel, I want to share a few updates as we approach the summer and the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This spring, the National Endowment for the Arts, in partnership with the Office of the Second Lady, invited students in grades K through 8 to take part in a bookmark design challenge. Thousands of students took part in the challenge, sending in bookmark designs that showed what America means to them. We have been working on narrowing down the entries, and finalists and winners should be announced very soon. The winning students will join us this summer at the Great American State Fair, where the National Endowment for the Arts is excited to provide 16 days of programming for the Arts and Humanities stage. This will take place June 25th through July 10th in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. We've also created a passport, think Disney Epcot, where you can walk around to all the state pavilions that will be lined up on the mall and mark your progress as you visit. We hope you can make the trip to D.C. and join us. But if you can't come to D.C., we are likely funding a project very close to you. We have awarded America 250 grants in all 50 states for projects, of course, honoring the semi-quincentennial. We are also providing support through our state partners that are racking up more than 1,200 arts activities throughout the nation. Another project I'd like to mention is the City Art Poster Project. In partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, we are inviting mayors and city leaders to collaborate with artists to create posters that celebrate local history and inspire hope for the future. This is a great opportunity to showcase the artistic and cultural heritage of your city. For more information on how to participate, visit the U.S. Conference of Mayors website. As Tony mentioned, we have provided grants to the 11 cities hosting FIFA games for arts programming during the tournament. And we have a very special category this year, again, as Tony mentioned, for communities to bring military bands for community performances that they might not likely have seen before. I'd now like to turn things over to Eleanor Billington, Civic Partnerships Manager at the National Endowment for the Arts, and her fellow panelists. Following Hurricane Helene, Eleanor and her colleague Michael Orlov conducted 2 rounds of site visits in Western North Carolina. We worked with state and local partners on a needs assessment and loss estimation to understand the impact of the hurricane. The National Endowment for the Arts also advocated that the arts sector be represented in discussions around short and long-term recovery on federal and local recovery teams. This resulted in creative sector representation at the Department of Interior's long-term recovery planning efforts. If I mispronounce this, excuse me. Buncombe County Recovery Plan, and also made sure that there was cultural representation on North Carolina Governor's Advisory Committee for Recovery, which the mayor mentioned she was a part of. Eleanor is joined by representatives from the state and local community to share more about how they work together from their different perches to support both short and long-term recovery efforts. Eleanor, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It is so wonderful to be here in Western North Carolina. As Chairman Carter mentioned, I've had the privilege of being in this area many times over the past year and a half, but I'm also from Eastern Tennessee, so I grew up coming to this area with my family as a child, going to hike or rent a cabin in the mountains. So I'm always really grateful to be back here, and y'all are wonderful hosts always. As Chairman Carter said, my name is Eleanor Billington. I'm the Civic Partnerships Manager at the NEA, so I work a lot with local arts agencies and local government. But why I'm here today is because I also help manage the NEA's disaster readiness and response portfolio. And that is how I got to meet all these wonderful women who are on stage with me. You're going to hear a lot more from them in just a moment, but I'll introduce them now quickly. So Vicki Vitiello here is a longstanding and beloved Deputy Director at the North Carolina Arts Council. Katie Cornell, who you've heard about, I think already several times this morning. She is the Executive Director at the local arts agency here in Asheville, serving Buncombe County, Arts AVL, and she's also the President of WNC Arts. And Jamie Karalik is a talented printmaker who has a studio in practice in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, which I think is this way. And she is also the program director for Craft Your Commerce right here in Asheville with Mountain BizWorks. So we are so thrilled to have y'all. It's hard to clap with with the microphone, excuse me. So we are gonna dive right into it. A lot of what we're gonna talk about today is partnerships and how important they are both before and after disasters occur. I know y'all have already heard a lot about the National Endowment for the Arts work in Western North Carolina after Helene, but what we want to start by talking about this morning is really how important those partnerships are and those trusted networks are prior to a disaster. When you're in an emergency situation, you're in a crisis, you don't usually pick up the phone if you have cell service and call someone that is a stranger. You're gonna call your trusted partners, your friends, those you know already that are in your network. So those prior networks are really key to successful disaster response and recovery. So I'm gonna ask Vicki to start, please, and talk a little bit about Western North Carolina and also how the state's investment, the North Carolina Arts Council's investment in local arts agencies has really helped to strengthen the response and coordination here in Western North Carolina.
Thanks, Eleanor. I'll begin where we've already mentioned the Grassroots Arts Program a couple of times as part of our remarks. And the reason why I want to start here is because this is an extraordinary, unique asset that the state of North Carolina has. And all throughout the recovery work and all throughout the very difficult times, to Eleanor's point, we were relying on the relationships that we had with our partners at the local level, and then the relationships that our partners had with their other community leaders at the local level to get things moving along. We would not be nearly as far along in our recovery if it had not been for the prior investments in that strong arts infrastructure network. So grassroots arts, most of you know it probably at this point, was established by our General Assembly in North Carolina in 1977. And it is a decentralized grants funding mechanism. Money comes through the North Carolina Arts Council, and we have to distribute it to all 100 counties, and we do that on a modified per capita basis. It is quasi-flexible funding. There's some rules to it, but the partner in each county is also able to do some local determination for how they're going to spend the money. And the extraordinary thing about it is it's been 50 years almost of money flowing through us to all 100 counties. Reliable, steady infrastructure development. It allowed local arts councils to be built back in the 70s. It allowed local arts councils to hire their first staff. Those staff then became able to then strengthen their own relevance in their own communities and build their own leadership portfolio within their county. Over time, it just strengthened into a mature network. It's a network also that knows each other. So they're collaborating across counties with one another on programming, on collective marketing, on collective bargaining against us at the Arts Council sometimes when they band together and figure out what they need from us, which is fantastic. And then it also, then I'll just jump to that. It's a network that knows us really well. We have those relationships in place, and we, in that regard, have these ready-made systems of communication, ready-made systems of grant delivery when disaster strikes. We put those to the test during COVID, and every one of our network kind of rose to the occasion and strengthened their leadership skills and then strengthened their networks. We put that to the test again as soon as Hurricane Helene hit. There are some specific things about Western North Carolina that I'm going to tick off pretty fast, not for y'all sitting in the audience, but for those viewing at home, because it does matter what has happened, kind of what this place is. And I think I think we skipped a slide, perhaps. There is a slide about the size of Western North Carolina. Yes, no?
Yes, I think.
We're not on that slide. Okay. So I'm going to just specifically say Western North Carolina is about a fourth of our state. It doesn't have a rigid borderline. Usually it hovers somewhere between 26 and 28 counties when people speak about it. It is a large land mass, but it is also a rural part of our state. And last time I checked, there are about 900,000 folks who live in that part of North Carolina. It is a region full of small towns, small cities, unincorporated communities. Our largest city is Asheville. Here we are in our largest city. And it comes as a surprise to folks that within the city borders, fewer than 100,000 people live in Asheville. It definitely punches above its weight. The arts sector kind of mirrors that structure. And what I mean by that is the arts sector is populated by small arts organizations and a lot of individual artists. When we did a tally right after the storm and we were looking at kind of the whole region, there were only 11 nonprofit arts organizations within the 26 counties impacted by the storm that had an annual budget over $1 million. So quite a bit of small, scrappy, fabulous organizations and individual artists. And then I'll jump to this slide, which is, and we have a blessed wealth of arts in Western North Carolina. We are so very fortunate. Our cultural and arts assets are internationally known. Notably, people recognize us for music and craft, but I would say every single discipline is beautifully represented in Western North Carolina. We have traditional arts, but we are blowing it out of the water with our contemporary art scene too. And then all of those assets, all of that extraordinary is worth celebrating and honoring. It's also very much worth protecting. So next slide, please. Before the storm, Western North Carolina had some underlying issues. Because arts funding tends to follow population size and budget size of organization, there has been a history of underinvestment in Western North Carolina, specifically in the arts sector. Well, actually across all sectors, I would say. I know the arts sector. And because of that underinvestment, many of our arts organizations have not been able to build up reserves, and therefore were operating in a fragile state even before the storm hit. We are a very tourism-dependent region, and come, with the whims of tourism. And the cost of living in Western North Carolina had begun to tick up more and more over the years, not just in Asheville, but throughout the West, particularly since the COVID pandemic. Next slide, please. And then we had a storm. We had a very horrible weather event. All of those contributing factors before became amplified. We've already talked a bit about the storm. You all have lived through the storm. 80% of Asheville's River Arts District was destroyed. Significant damage in communities like Marshall, Spruce Pine, Old Fort, Burnsville, Lansing, Waynesville. And the whole region's disruption was for a significant period of time. And so all of those economic factors were brought to a crisis point with the convergence. So just that context of Western North Carolina points to why those pre-existing relationships and networks were so very valuable. And the investment that we have made over 50 years is the reason why we were able to jump to.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I want to invite Jamie and Katie into the conversation now, too, and talk a little bit about the creative economy. We've heard a lot about it already this morning and how it is really an anchor for regional growth here in Western North Carolina. It drives small business, it drives tourism, it drives recreational activities. So why don't we start with you, Katie? Can you tell us a little bit about how the creative economy has really helped to rebuild and strengthen the broader economy here?
Yeah. So if you know me, you know that I am very passionate about creative economy data. I've been called a data queen. Last night I was called a data artist. I just got in a healthy debate with our congressman backstage about the impact of the creative economy in Western North Carolina, and I'll be educating his team about that following this. Yeah. So in the best of times, creative economy data is vitally important for advocating for the region, for the arts sector. But when you have a disaster, you need that data. It is critical for being able to communicate what could be lost. And so, things like, one of the complications about creative economy data, and this is the issue that we were talking about backstage, is we don't fit in the box. Creative economy data does not follow the same rules as regular business metrics. So when you're measuring the impact of a sector by industry and occupation codes, the arts sector is undercounted. Vastly undercounted. And so we need things like the Bureau of Economic Analysis Arts and Cultural Product Satellite Account to tease out and help us tell that story of arts and culture. So an example of that would be after COVID, or during COVID, our state invested a lot of federal dollars into the arts community through the CARES Act, through American Rescue Plan dollars. And what we were able to see through the BEA reports is how that translated in impact. So what you see in this first column on this slide is that we saw a 7.2 increase in jobs in North Carolina. This was the most increase of any state in the nation in creative jobs from 2022 to 2023. And we can tell that story because of the satellite account and other data services that provide that for us. And so definitely want to see the continuation of the satellite account, and also want to see the occupation and industry codes fixed for the creative economy, so that we don't have to keep teasing it out. But what we were able to show in Western North Carolina is the arts sector is not small. If you look at the 28 most western counties in North Carolina, it's $3.1 billion in economic impact. It's 34,000 jobs. And sadly, in the fourth quarter of 2024, we saw a 70% decline in tourism due to the storm, and that was an impact of 63% to the creative economy in Western North Carolina, and that's an important story for us to be able to tell. Also, we were able to tell just the concentration we have here, particularly in Buncombe County. So in Buncombe County, we are the #1 county in the state for arts establishments per capita, and we are 47th in the nation out of over 3,000 counties. So, I mean, yes, as Vicki already alluded to, we're small but mighty, and we need to be able to tell that story, and creative economy data is very important for being able to do that. It's also really important for fundraising. And so if you'll just move to the next slide, yes. So I'm very proud to say that you have to mobilize very quickly after a storm like this and get those dollars in the hands of the people that need it as quickly as possible. And being able to have this creative economy data as well as additional surveying, constant, continuous surveying to understand what the current needs are as they change over time is really important. And working with all of these amazing partners, we've been able to secure $6.2 million to get in the hands of artists and arts businesses across the region since the storm. But giving people money alone is not enough, and so I want to hand things over to my very good friend, Jamie Karolich, to talk more about that.
Thank you, Katie, and hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to talk about technical assistance. We are very fortunate to have Mountain BizWorks in our region, and very fortunate that they recognize the importance of the creative economy early on and created the Craft Your Commerce program and have been providing one-on-one business coaching and technical assistance for small businesses for over 35 years here in our region. So we were prepared, along with Katie's data and some of the pinpoints that we knew artists and entrepreneurs struggled with. We were ready to come to the table with our resources and our one-on-one technical assistance. And we knew grants were going to be coming down the pipeline, so we had grant writers ready to go. And all of our services, our technical assistance services, were provided for free. So we provided grant writing. We saw a lot of individuals wanting to pivot to e-commerce to capitalize on the holiday season as it was approaching. So we had web designers and web developers ready to go to help the artists to pivot. We also brought in realtors. A lot of folks were looking for new spaces who had been displaced from the flooding. So we had realtors helping to find new locations and also to negotiate lease agreements because they can be really complicated, and we wanted to make sure folks knew what they were signing on to. And then we also provided a lot of emotional support. As we know, after a hurricane, after any trauma, there's a lot of feelings. There's a jumble of emotions that come along with that. And so we're also prepared and worked with regional partners to have a list prepared of therapists who were providing pro bono services, and we were able to provide that to the individuals that we were working with. And now we are entering a new phase of recovery, and we are continuing to provide that technical assistance and continuing to provide the technical assistance for our artists, craftspeople, and nonprofits. We really realized that we needed to serve the nonprofits and the folks who are in business because it's the whole ecosystem that we want to serve, and we want to retain those individuals here.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Katie. So we are getting close to time. We are running short on time just a bit. So I am going to kind of fly through these next slides, actually, and ask that we go sort of to the end of the presentation, if y'all don't mind. Just a what? There we go. If you could stop right there. I want, before I ask one more very quick question of our panelists, I want to draw everyone's attention to arts.gov. Under Chairman Carter, we've revised a lot of the resources that are listed right at this. Hopefully you can see that specific URL on the bottom. And there's case studies there. There's information there about NEA grants that we've given around disaster readiness and recovery. So if you are looking for national resources or a way to connect regionally, there's great information on our website there. So please go to arts.gov and take a look at that. We will try to update it as much as possible. So very quickly, as we close out, I want to ask each of you, if you can say just like in a sentence, maybe two, what is your biggest takeaway? What is the one thing that you want to leave us with as a learning, as something we carry home with us about working in disaster recovery in the arts sector here in Western North Carolina? Jamie, why don't we start with you and go Katie, Vicki.
The collaboration and the connectivity was crucial for us to stay on the same page and make sure that we were a united front, serving our creative community and not a fractured, ecosystem. So I would say the collaboration and our partnerships were truly important.
I definitely second that, and I'll add 3 things. Data matters. I know you're surprised I say that. Lean into your strengths and let local lead.
When we were approaching the 1-year anniversary for Helene, the exact same timetable, our friends in New Orleans were approaching the 20-year anniversary of Katrina. And it was really profound to me to hear New Orleans continuing to say, we are still in recovery from Katrina. And I don't want to land on a downer, but it does mean, it helped me to calibrate, we are in this for the long haul, and there's opportunity for a long rebuild that's going to end up allowing us to invest even more and strengthen North Carolina to be better than before.
Thank you. That's a beautiful and powerful way to end. I want to thank them and also recognize them. These 3 women for the past 20 months have been working tirelessly to benefit, renew, and rebuild the arts and culture sector in Western North Carolina. I know y'all have had a lot of help, but they have done it with a lot of humility and grit and courage, and it has been a privilege to witness it. So thank you all so much. Please join me in thanking our panelists.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Eleanor, Vicki, Katie, and Jamie. You see the collaboration between federal, state, local, and how important it is. I also just want to mention that the governor and Senator Tills, they both sent the council lovely letters thanking them for coming and also talking, as you can imagine, wonderfully about North Carolina. We do have a member of Senator Budd's staff here also attending. The governor sent staff to an event we had on Monday, and of course the Congressman Edwards was here as well. So thankful that, that again, the state, local, and federal elected officials are as involved as they are as well. Next, I would like to invite Erin Hartley, Executive Director of LEAF Global Arts, to the stage. LEAF Global Arts is the recipient of multiple National Endowment for the Art grants to support their multidisciplinary programming, including residencies with teaching artists, which is what Erin will be sharing more about today.
Thank you so much for having us here today. So LEAF Global Arts began in 1995 as a music festival in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And in 2004, we added our outreach programs, working with kids in public housing and community programs, after-school programs, and eventually in schools. From there, we added our LEAF International program beginning in Rwanda, and we now support culture keepers in 15 programs in 10 different countries around the world. In the past 22 years, we have served over 100,000 youth, and now in Asheville, we have a growing roster of 30-plus resident teaching artists. And this work is in large part to the support and love we have from the National Endowment for the Arts, South Arts, Arts AVL, the North Carolina Arts Council, the City of Asheville, and many more. We're so grateful to have you in our city. Through all of these challenging times, one thing that I know about this community and this arts community in particular is that we lift each other up. So I see so many familiar faces out there, and I'm so grateful for all the work that we've been able to do together. It's really special to have you here and see what we do, see what this community can do. Times are still uncertain, as we've heard over and over today. Times are still uncertain and challenging for LEAF right now. Many of us barely got through COVID. We didn't fully recover, and then we were hit with a storm. And we're still rebuilding, but we're rebuilding together and cheering each other on. One of my favorite things that we get to do with LEAF is have our students work with some rock star musicians and performers on stage, and we get to bring them to our events, and they get the rock star treatment. We're so excited to share that with you today. And if you want to see more of that, we have an event on May 30th, supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, that will be at Pisgah Brewing in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And the other thing I feel like I really need to say is thank you to Liz and Christine and Michael. Just a couple weeks ago, we were on a call with them and they said, hey, how do you feel about bringing some students? And I'm like, what time, what day? They're like, it's Wednesday at 11. I was like, oh, that's gonna be hard. But no worries, we'll gather like 6 or 7 students. I'm sure we can at least get 6 or 7 students, short notice, no problem. And today, I hope they still love us. Today, you'll get to see 67 students perform. So, thanks, and I'm not going to say sorry because you're going to love it so much that you're going to forget that I said 6 or 7 when it was 67. The first school you're going to get to see today is Francine Delaney New School for Children. And then closing out this event today will be Hall Fletcher Elementary. They have worked with resident teaching artists Nick Hope. He's a musician around town. He's a drummer for Empire Strikes Brass and a bunch of other things, the Leaf Kona Band and more, but that's so fun to say, so I wanted to say that one. Also, Melissa McKinney, who recently won 2nd place in the International Blues Challenge with her band Mama. And Adama Dembele. Adama comes from Mali in West Africa and grew up in Ivory Coast. He teaches both cultural traditions. He's 33rd generation musician. Ooh. And has been... Every time I say that, and I've known Adama for almost 2 decades of my life, I still can't fathom 33 generations of music. So we're really honored to have him with us. And without further ado, Francine Delaney New School for Children.
teach you how to sing this song with us. So I'm going to have the kids stop drumming for a moment. And if you don't mind, repeat after me. Respect your brother. Love one another. Respect your sisters. And in turn, respect yourself. One more time, sing with us. Respect your brother. Love one another. Respect your sisters. And in turn, respect yourself. This time we're going to sing it all together. Are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Respect your brothers. Love one another. Respect your sisters. And in turn, respect yourself.
you so much. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Some of our council members than we thought, so they have to leave to go catch their flight. But again, such a great trip. Has been such a memorable trip, and I know they are so thankful that they came. Now it is my pleasure to welcome Sarah Cass and Al Yeck to the stage. Sarah has been an integral part of the National Endowment for the Arts Creative Forces Initiative since its inception. She's currently Senior Military Medical Advisor at the Henry M. Jackson Foundation, which is our partner that manages the clinical program of Creative Forces. In this role, Sarah oversees the Creative Art Therapies program, which brings art therapy, music therapy, and dance movement therapy to military patients and veterans who are receiving care at the Department of War and and Veterans Affairs facilities across the nation. This is a program that is so near and dear to my heart. My own father served 25 years in the U.S. Navy, and so all the programs that we do that help our wounded men and women currently in uniform and our veterans are very important to the National Endowment for the Arts. Sarah is joined by Al Yeck. He's Executive Director of the Veterans Healing Farm. Please go out if you get a chance. They're here, yeah. They're here to discuss how Creative Forces has been supporting the veterans and military-connected population impacted by the hurricane. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Al, how do you feel about being sandwiched between that previous show and another one that follows it?
I tell you, it's a very hard act to follow.
It's a little bit.
Without a drum.
It's a little bit daunting. I was going to say, if you ever want to make a retired Navy doctor nervous, invite them to speak at an arts conference, and then put them between children going 6'7", 6'7", and playing the drums like mad. So I'm kind of wasted, but I'm going to just try to get through this next 10 minutes. Unfortunately, I've got Al by my side, so we're going to be just fine. So again, I work with Creative Forces, which the chairman has already given you a great overview of what we do. I'm very honored to have been doing this work for the last almost 15 years now, and it has been an honor to watch the impact of both the creative arts therapies in a clinical setting, as well as the engagement with arts in our community settings to help service members, veterans, and their families recover from the impacts of war and of serving in the military. In the last probably 5 or 6 years, we've been really trying to understand how we might take what we have learned from working with a traumatized population impacted again by war and by military service, and understand how we might take some of the lessons learned and apply them to other traumatized populations. And so we've been in the last 12 months specifically working on a disaster response pilot program where we are partnering with local organizations to help with arts for individual and community recovery. And so that work started back last February, March timeframe when we decided that the most important thing we could do, most of us are stationed up in the DC area. I say stationed, that's a military thing. I actually just live there. I'm not stationed there anymore. I live in the DC area along with a few other people who are on this project. And we had been engaging in conversations with the National Coalition for Arts Preparedness and Emergency Response, and having conversations with people from here in Asheville and the surrounding area to understand what the experience of going through Helene had been like and what some of the needs were. But when we decided that we wanted to see if we could sponsor a specific project down here, we knew that we needed to come in person and see what was going on, because if we sit in DC and make decisions, my experience has been that they're as I wrote it down because Katie's exactly right, let local lead, that we needed to get down here and hear what the local community told us was needed. So we came, and I appreciate the support of Eleanor Billington and the North Carolina Arts Council and the local arts agencies to set up a visit for us where we met with a number of really impressive organizations. And again, our focus is veteran and military serving, so all of these projects have a military and veteran connection, but we met with So Say We All, Black Box Dance Theater, The Glass Shop, Odyssey Clay, and we visited the Veterans Healing Farm, where I met my new friend, Al. And immediately upon going to the Veterans Healing Farm, I knew that this was a place where people come to create community and to be together, and that was going to be an important foundation for work we do. So Al, tell us a little bit about the Veterans Healing Farm and your mission.
The mission of the Veterans Healing Farm is to enhance the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of our nation's veterans and their families. And we always highlight families because if someone's hurting and they go back to the family unit, the whole family hurts. So all of our programming is family-based. From you could bring a baby to your great-great-grandparents, not that the baby would participate in anything, but they're welcome at the farm. We're a family place. So we have three primary programs that meet our mission. And the first one is the umbrella term of agritherapy, or agricultural therapy. And within that, we have beekeeping led by a 22-year retired Coast Guard veteran. We have produce and flower team, which all the produce we grow, we donate back to the community, 75,000 pounds to date. Last year, with our flowers, we donated 450 floral bouquets to area nursing homes. And then we have our medicinal herb squad, which will process between 70 to 80 medicinal herbs. And with that, we always look for the benefit of plant medicine versus another pill from Pfizer. So with veterans, it's sleep disorder, it's anxiety, it's inflammation. So those are the three under agritherapy. And then we do workshops, and all of our workshops are either therapies or therapeutic. So we'll do equine therapy, canine therapy, music therapy, neurofeedback therapy. We will do blacksmithing, bread making, sushi rolling. We will do falconry. Last year we did 85 workshops like that, therapies or therapeutic, for 795 participants. That's our workshops. And then we do events. This year we're hosting our second Women Warriors Leadership Luncheon. We have a person coming in that she was a medevac Black Hawk helicopter pilot in Afghanistan. She's coming in, as well as the Secretary for Military and Veterans Affairs for the state of North Carolina. She is a 10-year Air Force veteran. Other events, we do kayaking trips, ballparks, ice rinks, fly fishing. It really goes on and on. It's that model because not everyone responds to the same therapy the same way. So we cast a wide net and let people experience different things and let them find what works for them.
Yeah, so Al's kind of a lazy guy, can you tell? So this array of opportunities that we saw at the Veterans Healing Farm was impressive, but one of the things that Al mentioned to me was this idea that he thought that maybe they would like to think about bringing pottery on as something that they would do. And I immediately went back to my visit to Odyssey Clay the day before, where I met Gabriel Klein, I think he's here, and was so impressed with the work they were doing in their studio, as well as support they were already doing in supporting veterans. And so sometimes I find that what we do when we're trying to start a project like this is just a little bit of matchmaking. So I introduced Gabriel to Al and said, the two of you should talk, because I took a pottery class, and the one thing I know is you can want to have a pottery studio, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's a risk. So bringing in somebody who's got the expertise that Gabriel and his instructors had to work side by side with Al seemed like a good idea. So Al, I maybe just ask you a little bit about how you and Gabriel kind of work through the idea of collaborating on this in support of veterans, but also in this time of the aftermath of a disaster.
Well, this was, we were about a year out after, at least the initial discussions, a year out after Helene. And so I approached Gabriel like I do with many of our instructors or that provide services to the farm, in that I have no idea what I'm doing. So that we start with that. Al doesn't know what he's doing, but he wants to bring this in. Gabe, how do we do this? And then we laid out the steps, we laid out the budget, we put it in place, and last Saturday we started our fourth 6-week workshop. And in between those times, we have the open studios for people to come and practice. But yeah, he has been instrumental in the creation of the program. And he also had prior service working with veterans at the VA. So it wasn't as much of a shock to him when he encounters some of our veterans as it is to maybe somebody that's never been around veterans.
Thanks. And one of the things we were also able to do in this project with Gabriel is part of our pilot and how we're thinking about when we look at using arts for community and individual recovery post-disaster. I think that arts very naturally are a part of that recovery. It happens whether anybody intervenes or not. That's just sort of the nature. I think you all have seen that here in Western North Carolina. We work at this kind of continuum of clinical care to community engagement where we believe there's some value in enhancing just the work of the art to have an understanding of trauma-informed best practices and leaning on our clinical side too to help prepare people for the powerful impacts of the arts. And so we hired a therapist who's here in the crowd today with us, Sarah Basich. Kudos to Sarah for being on board. And she met with Gabe and Odyssey Clay, and they did know how to work with veterans, and they're very good about that, but they took advantage of the opportunity to learn a little more about how to work from a trauma-informed practice perspective. And I think that's been helpful. I know Gabriel gave some kudos to Sarah on that as well. And so having a local resource on the clinical side that you can reach out to is something that we've been exploring and think is important as we continue our work going forward. And so do you have any kind of immediate observations of things that you saw in the people who participated in this, or lessons learned from engaging in this work, especially post-disaster?
There's one thing that comes to top of my mind, and that is, and I'll start out by a quick explanation of PTSD. And PTSD is when your mind is going back to the event, going back to the trauma, and it's on replay, and you can't get out of it. PTSD is when your mind goes forward to something that hasn't happened, but you're worried about it happening, you're thinking about it happening. When you're in the moment, right now, we're dry, we're safe, everything's good, right now in the moment. And what this veteran told me is they will go in to the pottery studio, and the workshop is 2 hours, or when we have our studio time, it's a 2-hour period. And he says it goes by in 5 minutes because his mind is involved with the clay. And it's not thinking about time, it's not thinking about what happened, what could happen, it's thinking about the clay. And any time that the nonverbal aspects of the arts for healing can't be overstated. And that's the beauty of our pottery program.
Yeah, thanks. Again, I said I dabbled in pottery, and I can tell you that anytime my mind leaves the clay that's right in front of me, my cup becomes a vase or a bowl or a plate or something completely different, which is okay. I just roll with it. But that mindfulness and getting in that state of flow is certainly an important part of that recovery. One of the things we're working to do going forward is to capture as many lessons learned as we can from people like Al and Gabriel and the rest of you in the room who've engaged in ways that you're using the arts for individual and community recovery and building it into a toolkit so that others can have a resource to go to when they are unfortunately faced with the same sort of situation of a disaster occurring. So we look forward to sharing that on the website that Eleanor talked about earlier. We'll be sharing that information to focus on the healing recovery component of the arts. And so we look forward to sharing that, and thank you all for your support and participation in that. That's what's next for us, as well as taking the lessons that we've learned here and working in other communities. We're right now engaged in conversations up in Western. Apparently Western is a bad place to be these days because Western Alaska too has suffered a significant impact from Typhoon Helene, and we look forward to working with that community and helping them hopefully in similar ways to we've been able to do here. Al, what's next for you? That's what's next for me.
With the pottery program, this will be ongoing forever.
That's what we like to hear, ongoing
Yes.
forever.
Ongoing forever.
Awesome.
And then in addition to the pottery program, I have to mention our new stage. We have a 18 by 24 foot covered stage built for us that sits at our 2-acre pond is the backdrop for it. And so besides musical performances, we're going to have everything else out there that think of an outdoor black box, and that's what that's going to be. So if you haven't been out to the farm, let me know. You're all welcome. We could go right now. Just let me know.
All right, and with that, yep, thank you. Chairman, I just want to say thank you again for the incredible support of the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Council on the Arts. So we are so grateful, and thanks for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Al. We have been lucky. Sarah has worked with the Creative Forces program for years. She was already involved during my first tenure at the National Endowment for the Arts from 2017 to 2021, and we made a real effort to grow the program. We've talked about disaster recovery, and that was sort of how we phrased this, but really it is still all healing. Obviously, with the veterans that Al is helping, that's healing. But, every time when I was in Marshall yesterday and, the old high school that had turned into a arts complex that had, I can't remember how many feet they told me, like 10 or 12 feet of water inside. That's now restored with new studios. That's healing. That's a part of healing. And the arts play such a central role in this. And that's why I focus so much on creative forces and disaster recovery and arts and health. And you'll be hearing more about that throughout my tenure. Just want to thank everyone for coming out, everyone who participated in these last 3 days with us. This has been amazing. Doug, who's head of South Arts, he held a beautiful reception Monday night. Yesterday in Marshall, Brandon, who's head of County Arts Council, the mayor there in Marshall, obviously the mayor here in Asheville, the congressman. Thank you all. It's been wonderful, and it has been uplifting to see the community come together in the way they did. As the final piece of business, I am pleased to announce that the National Council on the Arts has reviewed the applications presented to them, and that a tally of the council members' ballots revealed that all recommendations for funding and rejections have passed. So before I officially close this meeting, it is my pleasure to invite back to the stage the students from Leaf Global Arts to bring this meeting to a celebratory close.
I just wanted to give another thank you to all the teachers and administrators who made this possible today, and thank you for letting us share with you why we do what we do. And one last thing. So this guy, stage right with the drum, it is his birthday, so if you could give a round of applause for Adam's birthday. Thank you so much.
And then next, we're going to have a Hal Fletcher Elementary School. We're going to do some traditional drumming and dancing for you. We're going to dance. This rhythm is called Futamana. ready to switch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Carolina, thank you Asheville, thank you Marshall, thank you all of Western North Carolina. The 219th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now adjourned.
Good meeting.